station, we had marketing people that just crunched numbers all day long. That's all they did. Numbers, pie charts, graphs.
Right.
That's all they did. And then they created presentations to give to potential clients to show the numbers. And then you had another team that did the ads. They had to produce ads for the clients that said, yes, I do want to utilize your services, create these videos for us. So that team went out, produced the videos, and then they sent it to the editing department. Then the editing department would edit the video. They would have their clip, and they had to make it for 30 seconds. It had to be 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So they got it down to 30 seconds. They clipped it all the way it wanted, went back to the client. The client says yes, gives the approval. And then now you got airtime.
Yeah.
So then that's when it comes to me. And then I put it, where do you want this? What's the reach that you want? Do you want Jerry Seinfeld? Do you want Frasier? Or do you want just 6 o'clock news?
Yeah.
So, and it all went on their budget. So they couldn't afford maybe Jerry Seinfeld. So they had to do 6 o'clock news. Or maybe they just wanted, I don't know, maybe they wanted that audience for some reason.
Sure.
It depends on the product. It depends on who your
Well, it depends on if somebody already has it too.
Yeah,
and then what price.
And then like, is it cosmetics or something for women? Maybe they want a woman's talk show.
Right.
Or it just depends. And then the trucks. And then you can't have competition.
What do you mean the trucks?
There's Toyota trucks, Ford trucks. Mazda trucks,
right.
All those brands of trucks.
You can't have them on the same.
And they all want to be on Jerry Seinfeld or Friends or
right.
Cheers or whatever the show was. And so if they all wanted that same program and they wanted their 30 seconds on the same program, well, then that's called ad trafficking. You can't allow two competitors on the same back-to-back
right. But you
ad space, but you can have it on one break and then they have to take their turn to go to the next break.
Sure.
But if you accidentally got two competing brands, then you got to do a make good and you got to make it good. And so sorry, they get angry and then you'd have to give them to somewhere else or whatever of a similar show or another day or extra because you messed up. And every day is brand new. Every day there's teams of people that comb through every program like you have from this time to this time. And then another person was in charge of this time period to that time period. And another person was in charge of this time period to that time period. There were 8 people doing that every single day, every single show, every single break within each show. And then there's 15-second slots and 30-second slots. So 2 15s equal a 30. And they're like doing all the math all day long. That's all they do. And then I'm sitting there giving them all these ads. And I had to place them, but sometimes they had to shift them. Yeah, they bumped them around. I ordered it for whatever brand. I ordered, say I said Jerry Seinfeld Thursday night or whatever night it was. They might have had to bump it. And so the client would be like, hey, I bought that, but it got bumped. So, sorry. And then another day would go by, and then you have to wait till next week because these shows are only once a week. So sometimes
I was going to say, and then you fast forward to today, and now you have a new model presenting itself.
Yeah.
Which I think it's been around a little while. Mm-hmm. We were kind of early adopters of cutting the cord and using these boxes to watch everything we wanted to.
Streaming.
Yeah.
So there's...
What's the acronym, though, of the new streaming stuff that was called you were telling me about?
OTT, over the top of television.
That's right. Yeah. And
so these streaming devices, say it's Roku, it's Apple, it's Amazon Fire Stick, they can watch it on Xbox and PlayStation. Yeah. Those are streaming devices. So everybody's basically cutting the cord using streaming devices. They don't want to pay for cable anymore. And so they're streaming and they're watching what they want to watch.
Right.
And so that's a whole nother avenue for advertising. Say, I worked for an NBC affiliate. So NBC now has Peacock TV and they have streaming on Peacock.
But not the local channels.
Yeah, the local channels they're hiring. I saw that they're hiring for OTT advertising. So NBC is nationwide.
Right.
The local stations have their own piece that gets put in there. I worked at an NBC affiliate. No, Jerry Seinfeld didn't film his show at my studio, but we had our own studios. We have like a couple of studios that we filmed like cooking shows in, and
Right.
and the news, the local news is broadcast there, and you have your local weather and your local this, that,
So
and
do
the
they have
other.
an app then?
So they'll have, say there was a brand and they want to advertise locally. So that's when they'll choose to have us produce a specific local ad for our community, where whatever city you're in. It kind of gets spread out. And then there's the NBC affiliates throughout the U.S. get to broadcast I keep saying all these old shows that aren't airing anymore, but that's when I worked there.
So they have their own apps.
Yes.
So that way you can watch your local, because if you want to watch something in San Diego,
Right.
you open the local one there, and then you're watching your weather, your
Right.
local news, whatever, right?
Right. So now that's another thing that's totally expanding right now, because they're figuring out that people aren't watching all this stuff on cable TV anymore. They're going to the streaming devices, the OTT devices. It's all about OTT right now.
And forever we were talking about that. Gosh, I was talking about creating something where you could watch what you wanted to watch when you wanted to watch it back in 96, around there.
Yes.
And so now it's all available and it's getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
But then you have to have advertising.
Right.
But is that why everyone went? So that's the question. Besides the cost, it's like, you first went on YouTube and there weren't any ads.
Yes.
And then you went on these streaming devices and there weren't any ads. Now Amazon's talking about adding ads to Amazon Prime.
Of course.
So that's the... then where's the attention going to go after that?
And then you have YouTube, which is doubling its mobile consumption every year.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to put ads on there.
Yeah.
If YouTube's consumption is doubling every year, then you need to pay attention to that, because that's just telling you where everyone's going. And if the attention is going there, you should be reaching in that direction. If your target market is there,
Right.
maybe you're sticking on your favorite platform because you're familiar with it and you're comfortable there and you're posting, but there's lots and lots of people.
Right.
There's billions out there in all these platforms, and YouTube is growing like crazy.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. And if you only want to stay on LinkedIn or whatever, then...
Well, it depends on your audience and what business you're, B2B, LinkedIn,
Well,
for sure.
Well,
And
sure. But even those people are on YouTube.
Yeah, I know. But it is different. Well, you can't really watch YouTube when you're at work.
That's true.
I think that's the
so they're
advantage.
going to the audio version, which makes sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense. And that's a whole nother place.
Because that's
where attention has gone and shifted in a large way. It's
big
true.
time.
Audio.
Yeah.
Audio. The audio podcasts are hot right now, for sure.
But what's interesting is, you can see the different ones that are out there, and that's not new. Like audio podcasts have been around, and now they're sort of, I wouldn't say peaking, but they're getting up there. And now the new move, thanks to YouTube and Spotify's doing it, is video podcast. And I think that's going to be the growing trend, because it is harder. It's way harder.
That's why the audio version, I think there's so much to listen to.
It's so easy.
Everyone, you can read or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying it's very popular as a first stepping stone to try to do that.
Audio only?
Yeah, audio.
Yeah.
But
be way easier. I could crank out audio only podcast, which maybe we should have, but I just thought, if you're doing video for a living, and we're ramping up a bunch of stuff that we can't talk about, but you can see some of it on LinkedIn, and we're doing some stuff for clients that's going to be bigger. But you're trying to create good looking content that's out there, and having that reflect on YouTube. And the idea would be that we'd share that. Like here's a clip of us doing XYZ, or here's a new clip that we're doing on this for examples. You were talking about this earlier, and this totally stuck with me. You were saying that some of the marketing podcasts, I'm going to paraphrase it, offering advice on how to create content that have no content other than talking about content.
Yeah.
Yeah. You show me what you're doing. How do you do it?
Right.
But I'll let you talk about that for a minute, because I know you were kind of going in on, what that means to everybody, right? Because if you're listening to people telling you how to do something and then they're steering you in the wrong direction, that's not awesome.
Yes, I had noticed. It finally dawned on me. I was listening to a few of them, and I'm like, wait a minute. They're offering all this advice on how to make content, and they don't have any content at all other than advice on how to make content.
Yeah.
I'm like,
warning.
where is their actual content? And you don't. So, I mean, we have multiple channels.
Yeah.
We have multiple platforms. We have other video that we do besides just podcasts. But we're not just on YouTube, and we're not just on LinkedIn, and we're not just here or there or the other place.
Right.
You got to spread them out because,
Right.
I mean,
Those
why
are
would you
channels.
limit yourself on your reach?
Right.
It's just, yeah, we have examples of other types of video that we make and that we have made.
Well, I was just thinking about, you're talking about that, and then we're really at that time too. We're really leaning into all this equipment that we were buying, and that process was just so
yes.
brutal because, and this is exactly why we started Defender.
That's true.
and that's literally just one industry that we focus on.
Yes.
Right, is the security industry, and then you have software industry and some others.
Sure.
But the big takeaway was, as you're looking for a camera, there's a lot of research that has to go in there before you pull the trigger on something like that. You look at all the specs and things that they don't tell you. A big one was, well, how long can it run before it turns off? Because it overheats.
Yes.
That was huge. And then what's the low light like? And
sensor size.
yeah. So there's all these other things that no one talks about. And what I found was there's a ton of YouTubers out there, but they were just, get this thing. It's super cool. And look at my background. Here's all the settings to try to put in there. Like, yeah, right. And here's all the lighting to get. And here's my affiliate link, right? Right. And you're like, holy smokes. So you're buying like these Amaran lights and all this stuff. And then there's like no data on any of these
information
sites.
on how to use any of it.
What the settings should be, anything.
You don't
like
just
astounded.
plug this stuff in.
And that's the thing. The
You
learning
can
curve on
have-
this, there's no way.
I mean, I had a certification, a camera operator certification for cable television, okay? It does no good anymore because it's for an old camera. It doesn't even exist anymore. So luckily, I knew some things to get the new digital cinematic,
Right.
this, that, and the other. But if I didn't know any of that, I would completely be lost. I would have purchased a very expensive camera and not know, they don't come with lenses. I mean, here's your body
and which
of
lens?
a camera.
And then how far
which
away?
which
And then
lens
what's
are
the
you
low
going to
light?
get?
And then what's...
I mean, do you
and-
even know what you need? You
Yeah.
don't.
It goes on and
there's a bunch of video out there. Buy one, I have one too.
Yeah. There's my affiliate link.
So,
But that just shows you, though,
yeah.
at what we're trying to do is help manufacturers. I mean, we're not just picking on Sony, but all of them kind of do this where you go to their website and it's like, here's a cool kind of ad of our product. You're like, okay, cool. I'm already buying it. Now,
Yeah.
where do I go for, here's how to set it up, or here's the settings for if you're trying to do this.
No.
Or here's the lens distances and what you would need for, nope, nothing. Zero. Even on the shoe that you slide in the XLR
just every
thing,
tiny little detail.
nada.
If you're going to buy a light, it doesn't come with a stand. And what kind of stand do you need for that? And
Yeah.
what are you doing? And where are you positioning it? And the light isn't a light. You don't just plug it in and it shines. There are settings. There are kelvins.
It's
you
just
need to
crazy.
know
Everything's a la
how to
carte.
turn, what percentage you're using. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much to it that you probably go broke if you buy all this stuff and you turn it on, your video does not look right because you don't know what you're doing with these tools.
Yeah. Well, that's the
So-
thing. It's like, it's sort of that affirmation that what you're doing is a good thing.
Right.
Because it's filling a need for the businesses out there need to have content.
Yeah.
Video content's like over 3x
Right.
better in terms of engagement and all that good stuff, right? So we know all those facts and figures.
Yeah.
So that's pretty established. I mean, if you can do a quick Google search and look at the effectiveness of video over written or any other thing, we know we got to do video. Now, for a company to invest in all the camera equipment and everything, then who's running it? And then it's not just one vocation. So you got the video side of it, you have the sound, you have the lighting.
Audio.
Yeah. So and then audio is a huge deal.
Audio is extremely complicated.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, luckily they didn't change that much since you were doing it. So you still have XLR mics and all this. I mean, these
Yeah.
mics that we have been
Yeah.
around since the 60s.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
if it's good, it's good, right?
Yeah.
But I just found it funny that, as we're just trying to get certain shots done
Right.
and make them look the way we want them.
There's a lot of work involved in just to get one scene or whatever you're doing it for. But there's a lot to know. There's nothing wrong with hiring out.
Well, what I'm saying is to do it in-house, there's no way. Like,
Yeah.
when you talk
You need
about
a team of people.
when you talk about sales outsourcing, it's always, should I do it in-house or should I outsource this?
Yeah, that's
to
a good
somebody?
example.
And it's sort of like, well, I give up this and that and blah, 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 right? with video, there's no way you want to do this in-house. The time suck to get all this done. It's almost like what we charge for a client right now is such a steal because the time intense work, because it's scripting. First, you have to script everything.
Oh yeah, let's not forget
You're putting
that.
these shots together, and then there's all the B-roll behind it, and there's
Right.
the editing process, which you even cover yet. And
Right,
so-
and there's software that you need
yeah,
to do everything, including audio.
yeah.
And yeah, I don't think people know what they're going to be getting into if they try that.
So I'm pretty confident. Like if they did do it, they'd be like, "Oh heck no, are we going to do this? This is
Yeah,
insane."
and you have to do it consistently.
Yeah, and that's really the gist of what we're doing.
And if you're going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on all this equipment and no knowledge and know how to use it all, that's more time away.
well, you
from,
have to hire somebody to do it in house.
Yeah,
Why would
and then
you?
that's more people
So they're
and
just
more
gonna
money.
sit there and
so
wait.
basically, if you hire, it's basically when you do hire, is what I meant to say, that you're basically renting their equipment.
Yeah,
It's like an equipment rental that you are allowing whoever to produce content for you of way
yeah. You're
more
not buying.
inexpensive.
Yeah, you're not buying the Amaran lights, and you're not buying, all this
Cinematic
stuff.
cameras
Yeah.
and
the storage. Oh my gosh.
oh yeah, the storage alone
Yeah, that's insane.
is a lot of money to store
There's a lot to it.
data and to upload and download data and the connection speeds and just there's a lot to it.
So anyway, I'm confident that it's a good. It not only does it fill a need, which is again, you have Sony as an example, but there's every company does this where
Yeah.
you go to their website, there's just a lack of context and information that I need, even if I already bought it. But let alone, let's say if I'm doing research, which we were doing, you're going through the research of, well, which camera is right? And then which lens do I need? And then
they have, okay, so I said, oh, this guy says this camera's really good. And I look into it and it's like, yeah, it only runs for about 8 minutes before it overheats and
like,
turns
really?
off.
Yeah, that's a perfect podcast.
And that was over $1,000 camera that did that.
Yeah.
How long of a recording do you really want to do here?
Yeah. No, it's a
And how
major
mu-
deal.
And okay, I only want to do 60 seconds. Okay, well, how many takes do you need to do and how many hours long
That's the thing.
is
And that's
the
what we were
practice
running
run?
into before,
So,
which is why we bought the Sony camera, because the other camera would shut off.
shutting off, overheating.
And you're like in the middle of something and your workflow is completely disrupted.
And then even if you did, and then I looked up the ones, oh yeah, well this one runs for 30 minutes before it shuts off. And then you're like, okay, but how does it do in the summer in 100-degree weather and you're outside? Overheats in 10 minutes. That was just one example of a product.
Right. To me, the big issue with all this, again, it's just proving you're a need.
Yeah.
And what I see right now is no matter who it is, what company, they're good at creating like an advertisement and some kind of basic information. But the
Branding.
detail stuff,
Awareness.
yeah, they got awareness down.
They have awareness
big.
down.
Yeah,
I'm
context. So this is what we're really focused on. And here's the thing, and this is, I guess, what I want to hit on, because it does affect sales and marketing. But if you think about this, these companies are creating these advertisements and they get awareness, and it's like, okay, there's no detail to help the customer go through the entire buying cycle.
Exactly.
So this is where we saw the big need, right?
Right.
And whether that's a channel partner or an end user, where I want to go all the way until I need to call a salesperson. I don't want to call a salesperson for information because it's like a trap, right? Then they're trying to avoid that.
Right.
And so if you can give somebody everything they possibly could need, and this is where we started with this.
Yeah.
And so we're creating this body of work for the client by looking at their products and sort of diving into the product, understanding how it helps somebody. Because it seems like no matter what they do, it's seen as an ad when it's on their website. So people go and do research
Right.
independently. And I think that's the big takeaway.
I think you were getting at also.
I know, I got lost. I lost
You got
myself.
lost. Here's what you were trying to say. You were trying to say that people don't really want to hear from the brand about the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The brand does the brand and the branding and talking about, their greatness. But you have to have other people give you sort of
The pros, the cons.
yeah, well, here's how it works. What's so great about this solution, and sort of dive into that. And plus, does your client really want to go to, 50 different websites, because usually you're apart, right? Did we just buy a Sony camera? No, we bought a lot of different things that make up a complete solution. And so nobody is sort of the all solution. There is no all solution.
That's true. That's a good example.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the way it is in every industry. Like if you have a tech stack for software, it's part of a tech stack.
You have recorders for audio.
Yeah.
That certain mics won't plug into those recorders.
Right.
And certain mics do plug into those recorders. And then you have to know which mics fit those. And then there's different connectors for those. And the microdots and all this.
And then you get into, okay, do I want wireless?
Right.
Do I want wired? And then do I have a lavalier mic? And is it under my clothes? And what brand and what quality is it going to be?
Right.
Then
and can it handle moisture?
Yeah. And then
Wind.
And then do I want that, or do I want a boom mic for indoor? Do I want a shotgun mic for outdoor? And you start getting it, or a type of mic like this for a podcast.
Yeah.
So there's a million different scenarios where you need a certain product at a certain time, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
And to me, that's how it is for everything. If I'm going to recommend a security solution, it's not going to be, there's not one size fits all for everybody.
No, they want to know, does this work with the thing that I have?
That's huge. Integration
is this compatible
Right.
with what I have?
Yeah.
It could be any product. We're just using all this.
Yeah, as an example.
Media
just because
stuff
it's
as an example.
top of mind for us right now. The pain.
Because of what we just experienced.
Yeah. That just shows us that what we're doing can help the client and provide content that I think is just going to really help their customers and their channel partners to do the research faster, get the information that they need to be successful with their product or whatever it is. There's a major challenge for manufacturers or any B2B company with channel partners.
Yes.
Like if I talked about communication, I talked about just the support level that you're giving them and all that stuff, right? Yeah. The biggest one that I'm laser focused on is education. And it's not, I'm going to teach you about this and you're going to listen to all this stuff, right? So what the channel partner doesn't want is to go to another webinar for 60 minutes. That's what they don't want.
No.
And they're not going to read another marketing email about the channel, about their update on their products, because those aren't getting consumed. They're not reading those.
No.
And so we talk to channel partners every day.
And that's part of the Defender series, is that we ask people what they want.
Right.
And listen to that. And we directly show brands what their potential customers are wanting. They should listen to that, because
they should. But it's this, we're also talking to them every day. So the biggest thing is, it's like, okay, well, the manufacturer wants more engagement from them. The manufacturer wants them to lead with their products. The manufacturer wants them to come and listen to their product updates when they have them, right? And they're not getting that a lot of times.
Yeah.
And usually a channel partner will pick and choose a subset of all the products that they can resell, right? So it's 80-20 no matter what it is. 80% of the time they're going to be selling 20% of the products that they can sell. They're going to have their favorites, in other words, right? And so the partners that want to get an audience in there, they're not going to do it by asking them to join them for a 60-minute webinar. And I don't know who's pushing that out there constantly, but
they do not want that.
They don't want it at all. I was thinking about that, and I think last year is when we started doing that because of this. But it's like you have to give them the education in a way that isn't boring and provides the information for them on the different applications of, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I could sell that product for that application. So you take up I call it the elephant, right? You take the elephant of what you would normally try to present in a webinar or in person, right, which is another way, which was doing a lunch and learn. The lunch and learn that went on for an hour or hour and a half, they're going to retain only a tiny fraction of that information. And so we started kind of putting our heads together. Well, how could we get that information out there? How could we make it easy for them to digest? And that's leveraging your background in television and mine writing and then being involved in the channel for so long. And so all these things sort of came together, and you have to really engage the channel partners on where they're at and give them information that is that's going to help them to be successful. And just doing it the old way is just not going to work. Unless you're the 20, yeah, they'll listen to the 20 because they're selling it and they get the spiffs and everything that they work with on it. But the other 80%, they're not going to get the opportunities that they want to get. And so the only way for them, I think, to really kind of bridge that gap is to work with a company like Wave, where we know the channel, we know this is a big problem, and being able to package that information in a way that they can get it, they can hear it, listen to it, watch it. Cool, that's awesome. And now that's here. So when they do run into an application for it, they're like, oh yeah, that one thing that we saw from Defender.
Yeah, and we have established relationships with them.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're strangers.
We're not new. Yeah.
They know who we are.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to leverage that
cold
necessarily.
Calling thing.
No.
It's not what we're talking about.
No, we're not talking cold calling. No, this is sort of the newer way of.
Yeah, for 2023.
Yeah, and it's marketing and sales truly together.
Yeah, sales and marketing has to be united. It's not going to work.
Well,
not very well.
That's that platitude stuff, though, where you hear people say, like the buzzwords. I'll give you a great one: digital transformation. Doesn't that sound great? And that means we're going to spam you more and more. That's our digital transformation. We're going to send more email. It's like, that's not digital transformation. That's thinking about how to do market and sell in the digital sphere. And what does that incorporate? Well, it incorporates a lot of things, including video, by the way.
Yeah.
So you might want to take a peek at that. And instead of doing, it's like all their investment is in basically in person or just kind of these really, I won't say, they're just kind of stale. I mean, they're not as effective.
They're old methods.
Yeah, email is not new. I've been using email since the mid 90s. So you have to keep moving. The target keeps moving all the time, and I think digital transformation should mean looking at all the different things that you could do to market your company. And I think sales being involved in that process to give some insights maybe on what channel partners actually want and they don't want would help. So anyway, it's just funny. That's what we're focused on. And I just feel like we can provide a lot of value to a manufacturer versus banging phones. And, the way we were doing things, before, was just the way everyone did it. And we sort of looked at like, well, if something's not as effective anymore, then what else can I do? I think that when you are so focused on doing what everyone's done for 20 years, instead of saying, well, how can I improve this process? How can I make it more engaging for the channel partner? How can I help them more? Like, well, obviously it's a true partnership, means it's a two-way street. So what can I provide to them that will be helpful for them, and they can be successful with my product, and they make money doing it? Well, that's good for them. They want to close deals. They don't want to take risk on offering a product that they might not win, especially when things are really competitive. So, a lot of times they stick with those 20s because they feel like, well, this has the brand recognition or whatever it is. I don't know. But this reminds me of when I was selling IP SANs. And before that, storage area networks, fiber SANs were normal. And I started selling this brand that was really, really cool. It's node storage. So you'd have multiple nodes and they would all sort of work together. And it was just a new way of looking at how to tackle storage, where you could expand it very easily instead of buying sort of this blocky kind of way that we did before, where you basically have a head unit and then storage underneath it. It made it much easier to expand and just grow your storage as you needed to. And it was awesome. And I liked it. So it was a good way of differentiating yourself. But my point is that it would have been easier for a lot of guys to just sell sort of the standard stuff out there. It might not be better for the customer, but it's a lot easier to sell, well, I'm selling, this very well-known storage unit and it's great, yeah, it's not the newest stuff, but here's what it does, versus here's this other stuff that this is the future, this is going to help you, and you're going to be able to expand. You're not going to have to try to figure out, well, is this enough storage? Did I get enough expansion, or did I get the wrong one and now I'm going to outgrow that? And the people that were behind me helping me to understand that product did a great job. And so they got me educated on the product to the point where I could see the value in it over the legacy storage. storage. And so it was easy for me to position that storage unit against a competitor and win that business, because I could explain to the customer why this is so much better for you. And here's the benefits. And I'd say video surveillance was like that too, where if I was selling the old analog cameras, 4SIF or whatever, and then here I come with a 5 megapixel camera or a 3 or 2, whatever, and I could show the difference between those two and what the image quality was, that was easier. You were showing somebody, well, here's what the benefit is. And I think that as long as you're arming the channel partners with the information that they need, they will move from maybe a legacy partner to a newer one, as long as you give them the information that they need to be successful. They don't want to risk a sale and great, I lost. I could have just done a sure thing and sold XYZ versus trying this new thing. But if they failed, maybe it was because they just didn't have the Achilles heel of the other one, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's how you help a channel partner be successful, is give them everything they need if you're trying to position over a competitor. That's part of what we're doing. We talked about regular communication, all that kind of stuff. And I think you could read the article. It's on our Wave pipeline under channel partnerships back in May. But I really think that the value we can provide right now for any B2B company is helping them to really engage their channel partners, because man, there's so much potential with that. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want to grow numbers, okay, if you're only doing business with this many channel partners all the time, if you can increase that, that's a lot more people out there, selling your products.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
So that's what we're trying to get the word out, of how to do that. And again, it doesn't require us to pester them.
Right. That's not what it is.
No, this is inbound.
Yeah.
And that's really the big difference, is everything is about pinging them and pushing and asking, and you're constantly pulling at them.
Yeah.
Versus this is just inbound. Mm-hmm. So you're giving them information that's going to help them be successful. Mm-hmm. Of course they're going to, that's cool. Yeah. You just have to do it right. And I think that's what we're really focused on, is doing that for the client, because the client can't really do it for themselves.
No.
It's not just the equipment and all the skill set for it. It's honestly, it's the fact that as a third party, mm-hmm. The idea is that we can talk about all of the different solutions that make up what's required. And I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Anyway, we just have to do a good job about explaining that to everybody. But what was the other thing that you wanted to touch on?
I kind of talked a little bit about this already, but I just wanted to talk about paying attention to trends. Some people pay attention and move forward in a big way, and other people are waiting on the fence to wait to see what might happen before they want to test the waters.
Yeah.
And online purchasing just started taking off.
Yeah.
And in 1999 was when we were kind of, anyway.
We were on the fence of working for a company that wound up being very successful, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, online purchasing in 1999 was at 1.6 billion. And so the companies that paid attention to, whoa, what's going on with this online stuff? And we had like companies that we spoke with. I mean, you were working for like a web design
development company.
And you would go to people and say, yeah, you guys do want to,
get on the internet.
Do you want to get on the internet? And they'd just laugh and like, what do we want to be on the internet for? They weren't even interested in getting their .com or anything like that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And it was mind-blowing to see, like, there were big companies who were just like, no, we don't want our .com. We don't want to register it. We don't want to save it or park it or whatever. Nobody wanted to get on. And we're like, and so there were a bunch of people that we knew that they decided to start a company because other companies said, no, we don't want a website. So basically, can I say the name of that one?
You can say it.
Zappos. So our friends went over there, purchased some stuff online. And by the way, Amazon was online in 1994 selling books. So they knew they were selling just
books. I bought my first book from Amazon in 1998.
So 94 is when they started Amazon selling online.
Wow.
So they were ahead.
That's 4 years?
Yeah.
Before I even bought one.
Yeah. So then for 4 years, you're like, hey, I want to buy a book. Anyway, so I'm just trying to tell you that Amazon was doing it for a long time before people started jumping on the bandwagon in 1999 going, oh boy, what's going on here? We better get a website. People they're not paying attention until, I don't know, maybe their competition. Are they watching their competition to see if they're going to go on
That's an
first?
interesting-
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I
so-
literally was telling, I don't know if you want me to go there, or I don't want to sidetrack you on this one.
Yeah.
But I would say that working at a retailer, because by that time I'm working in data storage, working at that retailer where all those people left, started Zappos. And what was their, do you remember their numbers of what they made for their first year?
I have some numbers. So,
Okay.
yeah. So the first year Zappos started, very small amount of employees, by the way.
Yeah.
1.6 million. That was their first year. And then the year after that, they made 8.6 million. The year after that, they made 170 million. And then by 2005, Amazon was interested in purchasing Zappos. And in 2009, Amazon purchased Zappos for $1.2 billion.
Good thing they waited. Dang.
But that other company that we aren't mentioning,
Yeah.
they didn't they even go online get their website until 2003.
Wow.
So they waited that long before they said, I think this internet thing may be a thing.
Man, it's just so crazy.
So my point was, like, are you waiting till there's so much competition that why wouldn't you want to be the first to try all these new things that people are buzzing around and
I mean, yeah.
doing? So
I think all of us can miss the boat on something,
yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
like, oh. But there's a point where, especially for businesses, they have to jump onto these areas where an audience goes. I think that's the big key.
Yeah.
Is those where audiences moving and purchasing somewhere.
And the same thing is for cutting the cord audience.
Yeah.
They're not on cable anymore. They're going to
And they waited.
OTT devices.
Yeah, and they waited a long time.
And they waited a very long time before they said, "Oh, we cave in. Okay, well."
Yeah, we're losing. So yeah, it's probably time. But it just shows you though that everything's fluid all the time. And what's funny, you reminded me though, selling websites and going to a news organization and saying, hey, you should get your URL and put your news online. Like,
what do you want to do
why
that
would we do
for?
that? That's
What? Get out of my office.
yeah. I still can't believe that. It's like, and then of course, all these companies get bought
Right.
by the big ones, and they immediately go online and put their news on there. You're like, dude,
Yeah.
I tried to tell you.
Yeah, I tried to tell you. They
To-
lost a lot of money
Yeah.
for not doing that, and they lost their business.
And that was pretty late in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, but when I was selling websites, it was 95, 96. So, I mean, it was just like the internet was kind of a buzz by that time. Anyway, it's just crazy. It's a million years ago now, but
I know.
But it just shows you though that the trend thing, and we're trying to help our clients by looking at stuff
Yeah.
and do it basically for them. The thing that you and I were talking about this morning was, we can create a video for a client, and we're trying to do that in a consistent way. So what I found was that I'll take whatever manufacturer, doesn't matter who it is, but let's say they create a video and they use a company to do it, right? They're paying at least $30,000 to create a video.
Oh, a lot of some of the videos are like 2 million for just a few seconds.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So, okay, you brought up 2 points. So first you got the creation of the video. So you go to a third party, they do all this work and they create this
And
really neat thing.
That's time.
Yeah. And they're not usually in your industry, so they don't really know like all the ins and outs of it.
It'll
So
be
it's-
generic.
Yeah. So it's very artsy and they create this thing and you're like, oh, that's so great. And then you spent so much money on it, you can only do one kind of, okay, here it is per
Yeah.
year. And then that's usually not even like on most of the B2B folks that we work with, they're not putting that on TV.
No.
And that's a whole nother level.
Right.
But they're creating it like they were going to go on TV. But usually they're creating stuff that's like, I don't know, 5 to 8 minutes long because they want to get their money's worth. So they create
Yeah.
this thing and it's starting at 30, let's say it's 30 grand.
Yeah.
And okay, you did one deal.
Yeah. How
That's
many
not
more?
good.
No.
So our whole point is you creating a consistent month by month solution that is affordable, that's well
Produced.
produced. Thank you. And I think that this hits on a lot of things. And then there's that other component though.
There's a lot of components.
The other component is the audience.
Yes.
And so I won't give it away because I know you get mad at me if I do. But the other component though is that we've created not only the product and the content for them, but we're also going to help them place that in a way where it is consumed by the exact people in large numbers of who they wanted to reach.
Yes.
And to me, that's like both are together now.
Right.
So anyway, I think I'm excited about that, but I just want to do it and get a lot of this stuff out for people and help them. And I just know this is going to be huge.
Yeah.
This is going to help everybody. But I'm excited about that. Like that, to me, that hit everything, right? So you got consistency. You have to have it going out month by month, not once a year or twice a year. Every month they have to hear from you in a different way. And then getting that information out from a third party, I think makes a lot more sense because it's not the brand saying I'm great. It's somebody else saying you're great.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is just getting it to the right audience. So I don't know. I just look at older models, of how it was done before.
Right.
And you look at, back in the 60s when it was a magazine and you open up the magazine and you're like, oh, wow, here's a full page ad on whatever. And they did a great job of making people either want something or inform them about a product that they should want. And now it's just like digital transformation. So we have to digitally transform, right? And yet you see how many of those magazines that I was subscribed. And that's the thing. It's not hard to subscribe to these magazines that are free, right? So you get them. How many of those things did you see me just pouring over and reading? Yeah. Like you would, once in a while you pick it up, but a lot of them just sort of go up and it goes in the mailbox and then it gets set aside.
Same thing with emails.
Yeah. So you got to think outside the box and you got to say, well, how can I get this information in front of the right people at the right time and have it contextually help them?
And I think about, I don't want to reach through to this person the same way as my competitors.
That's another thing. Yeah.
Why do I want to do the same thing they're doing? I don't.
That's the problem with a lot of in-person events.
Yeah.
Is it's like, okay,
here we are.
Your booth size might be different, but it's all sort of out there. Like, okay, here we all are and we're doing all the same. And it's like you look like your other competitor.
Right.
Versus if you do things digitally, you have an opportunity to sort of put your own way of how you want to present yourself a little bit more. So, and then, I think about from a client perspective of what I want to do for them is like, a lot of them don't have the means to put their products into a video format. Yeah. And this is something I'm working on myself. It's a hard one, but, I think that's something that we can tackle for them because I just find that most don't have their product all done up and looking good for creating that sort of. That's
a good point. Yes. Yeah. That too. That's another way of differentiating, if you want to say. Like,
it's funny. It's like
we have a digital version of our whatever it is.
It's funny, isn't it? It's just like all this sounds like marketing, but it's a blend between marketing and sales. It's like knowing the sales component of how that helps the client and understanding sort of the nuances of what the client needs are, the different applications, and being able to tune that at the same time. You're using your marketing wizardry there to put together solutions and content that really, really help the audience, like no matter who it is, whether it's a channel partner, whether it's a end user of the product. Yeah. I just think that's really cool. Like at our heart, the heart of everything that we're doing is how can I help the other person on the other end not experience what I had to experience when I went to go purchase a product? And everyone loves to throw around like, oh, it's all about the customer. And then you look at their website or whatever.
And it's not about the customer. No, it's not. When you go on their website, they say it.
Right.
But they're not doing it.
Right.
So maybe they don't know how. They need to call
Maybe, but I just find it really weird that all I see is a bunch of, platitudes. And I don't see action. Yeah. Like, how are you doing it? How are you helping your channel partners? How are you helping your customers? And that's what we obsess on. And I want to help our clients, and I know we can. That's what's so fun. To me, this is a lot more effective than doing things this old, tired way, how things were done before, that and scale, doing those two things. The other thing that I wanted to hit on we talked a little bit about channel. And so, yeah, education's a big deal, but also getting somebody on the phone and getting both pre and post sales support.
Oh, yes. That was mentioned
Yes.
by the people we were asking. That's right. That was big for them.
So that's another feedback item. And I want to just put this out there that, we were sort of putting out there a lot of these inside sales services before a lot of folks were doing that, especially in our industry. I think the biggest issue is they think, well, I'll just do it in-house. Well, why would you hire? It's a completely different role. And you can't scale that out when your cost is so high for a W-2 employee, whereas you can outsource that to Wave, and we can provide market development reps, or to me, the bigger one we're talking about channel is channel development reps. So yes, they're inside salespeople, but you're not managing them and you're not having a manager manage them. So there's a salary save there. And the reason I think it makes more sense is business continuity. What did we just experience for the last 3 years? Right? Disruption. And one of the things that I think is just a big takeaway is everyone wants to silo everything where they're at. They have their company headquarters and they want to hire everybody over there and have them all there. Well, what happens when the electricity goes out? It doesn't have to be the end of the world here. It can be just some sort of brownout or whatever, disruption of some sort. Usually those are localized. There could be a flood, a hurricane, an earthquake, it could be anything. And so you have all your eggs in the proverbial basket. And then what happens? Then you're just done for the day, right? Everyone go home. And so to me, it makes a lot more sense to sort of load balance that. Okay, well, why not just outsource this business process and have a inside sales group manage my inside salespeople for me as a service, just like you have Office 365 as a managed service, or Google, Gmail, and the whole Google suite as a service. It's because somebody can do it just as well, and now you don't have a server going down because that's at your data center. It's somewhere else, right? So I think that's another big component, is just thinking about business continuity, and that having things separated out makes more sense. By insisting on having everything in-house, it just reminds me of the days that people were digging in on having their own Exchange server. Like, why would I ever have some Microsoft host my email, or Google? Well, it's because it's more efficient and it has better uptime than you could probably have. And now you don't have a Exchange admin managing the server all the time. So it's sort of the same thing on the inside salespeople, is the way I look at it. As I see, we could manage, and to me, this is exactly where everyone should be going right now, is we can manage channel development reps. So they're just focused on the channel. Now you're providing more support for your channel partners, which is one of the things that they said they weren't getting enough of, right? And you're doing it at a scale where it's just easier. You're not doing the hiring. You're not doing the interviewing. You're not doing the onboarding. So there's a lot of stuff that they don't have to do, but they're focused in the right area. We're helping them with the tools and getting set up and all that stuff, right? But the idea is that we can do it a lot more efficiently. Again, if something happens, whatever, you don't have lights out. You're not doing nothing that day because we have a site over here and everyone's okay, right? Yeah. So anyway, to me, that's another thing I'm really focused on, is that to me, the channel development rep, that's a great way of scaling that out. And now, just like that sysadmin that they don't need on the Exchange server, now they don't need an inside sales manager. They can give that guy a promotion and he can be a regional sales manager or whatever. And so that makes a lot more sense to me. Those are the two big areas. I'd say, we're talking about market development reps with Wave Outbound. And then we have channel sales for channel development reps. We're doing our Wave Media. Yes. And that is, a huge component of what we're doing. And that does affect everything. Because, again, that education component is going into the channel. It's also going to end users. So I think that's going to be a big piece of what can help a manufacturer. Because if they're supporting their channel partners with more people, right, and they're dedicated under their brand, the whole thing, they're just contracted. And then they're also getting, more education for the channel partners. I see those as two big wins, and they don't have to do anything. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So I think that'll definitely keep us busy for a while. And again, that buying process, it's broken everywhere.
It's broken everywhere, not just in our industry. Yeah. I'm seeing it. There are some brands that get it and that are adapting to the changes. For the most part, most are not.
No.
I guess they're gonna wait to follow instead of lead.
Yeah, we're looking for leaders who can see this opportunity as being a good match.
Yes.
It's like, I just don't think most companies want to hire in-house media production people. That would be very costly.
Extremely.
So just
Absolutely extremely.
well, it's similar to in your, when you worked at, I can't say the name, but the TV station, is that, those companies that were your customers didn't produce their own ads.
No. None of them did.
Right. Why
None
would
of
you?
them. None of them ever did.
Have it done for you, and just make sure it's somebody if they understand your industry. To me, that's a big thing. So when we were through our journey of looking for different components, whether it was a microphone or whatever it was, you wind up finding people that are like, okay, this guy, seems to understand, our workflow, what we're trying to accomplish, and know what they're not just trying to do an affiliate link and sell something.
Right.
So that's another thing, is that you're looking for somebody who can cover the information and get you there, because you're doing the research. The people that are selling stuff help your customer get there faster by having other people help educate them. Just like I said, it's like Amazon reviews, going to YouTube and doing a search on how do I, and there you go, right? I think that's going to be a big thing for B2B.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for a while, and I think our background is kind of unique.
Very.
So it's
Just
kind of
how
fun.
it just meshes together. I mean,
Perfectly.
how often does sales and marketing come together and have meetings?
Right.
Well, we have them all throughout the day, every day.
Yeah. And not only that, but how many companies that you can hire has someone has worked in TV and then been in channel sales and sales in general for a long time. I'd say though that, marketing is what's really needed right now for people to speed up that buying process. It's about research.
Sure.
And so to me, that's the easiest thing to help address. The old days, it was making a better website and answering more questions and keeping people engaged so that way they could get their research done quickly. And to me, while a website is super important, people want to look at video. I mean, this is how it is.
Sure.
So the new Google search is YouTube.
Well, yeah, it's an incredible search engine, very powerful. So most people don't realize that YouTube is the Google search engine.
Right.
If you're not wanting to go on YouTube, you're missing out on a powerful way of someone finding your brand.
I think a lot of B2B companies just think, well, I'm not a B2C, so
Right.
no one's going to really want to
It doesn't matter.
watch
It's
whatever.
just for a search.
Yeah, it's for a search, and it's providing context for somebody who was looking for something and you gave it to them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much to pay for itself either. And then, that's not even boosting it. That's not even doing any sort of advertising on
Right.
YouTube.
And that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And a very powerful one at that.
Yeah.
Especially LinkedIn.
Yeah. So you got LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I'd say would be the big five right now.
TikTok is selling dentures over there, so don't think it's just for the young.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, that's the stuff that's just top of mind, like as we're talking through the week. And we want to do these more often, but things have been just so crazy. This
I
one
know.
got pushed off. We didn't want it on our old system.
Yeah,
We
we're
want it on the new.
we kind of reorging some stuff right now. So, as soon as that gets rebuilt, then it'll be a lot easier to find and
Yeah, I
kind
think it's
of,
better like this.
yeah, it's for the algorithm to help it find what people need when they do a search.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're doing and working on. And there's a lot of other things we're working on too. But
Yeah.
we're focused though, for sure.
Yeah, we kind of threw this together. So this is not the end result of what we're going to be doing in the future.
Yeah, we just kind
It's sort of temporary.
let's quick do a podcast, and this is what it looks like for now. And we know that the majority of, I would say viewers, but they're not viewers, they're listeners, are on the audio podcast version.
Oh yeah,
And
it's a
so
lot easier to listen to something while you're at work or driving.
Sure. Or taking a walk around the block or whatever.
Right.
I mean, people walk around, and I hear them listening to podcasts all the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I like podcasts.
yeah, and driving. I mean, I'm sure you can't watch a video in the car.
Right, there shouldn't be, unless you got autopilot on. Yeah, I think just in terms of what's on our radar in terms of looking at business, what's going to really help people right now. Because now it's a little harder for sure. It's funny. We wrote about this over a year ago.
Yeah.
What was coming.
Yeah.
And we look at trends. So it's not like, we're joking around here. It's just like we saw people over hiring. We're like, that's not going to end well. Sure enough, it didn't. And then you just see these cycles over and over again. And to me, the big one was they just weren't throwing the real numbers out there of what's happening. And so economically things were a little tougher, and we knew that was going to start creating more headwinds. And sure enough, now people were doing a lot of layoffs.
Yeah.
And I think, if marketers, the value you have for a company right now is huge. And I think the problem is, from a owner perspective, is showing them what can be done. And that requires a little creativity. But there's a lot that can be helped for a company. But I think using the same old methodologies during a time where things are getting a little crunchy, because I'm seeing the marketers seem to be the first ones to be, on the chopping block. And this is the time for a brand to really get their name out there and show how they're different. But you can't show how you're different if you're doing exactly what everyone else is doing. So if a marketer wants to stay around, all they have to do is just really think about the client, like the customer, the end customer. What do they need? Well, they need more information. You're providing ads to them.
Right.
Or logo photos, like you're saying, when you scroll through those.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, how the heck is that going to help someone buy something? Or if it's all about you and, hey, here we are at whatever, and here's a dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not going to help them. So if you want to help your company and you want to show that marketing is a major revenue contributor, then I would say
lead.
Do something that's gonna help the end user of your product and your channel partners to quickly purchase your product, get the information out, help them understand how to buy it, what's going on, how is it going to solve a problem, and really diving into that. I just see people, it just blows my mind. I know it's like September is classic trade show season.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's cool, but trade show's over. So, okay.
Now what's the next
Now
deal?
what? Yeah. So you got to have a plan for 365 days of a year.
It's interesting. If you go on Amazon and you look at a product, just pick a product and look at it. And a lot of these products now have video that are attached to the product. Every single product, even though it's completely different, has the same type of video. The object dancing around to music, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
No, it doesn't matter what the product is. They're all doing the exact same thing. Why would you want to do the exact same video as your competition or of everybody? It's here it is, buy it. Here it is.
That's the template, right?
Yeah, templates.
Don't do templates.
No.
You have to do your own stuff.
Yeah.
You have to be creative.
Yeah.
You have to tell a story if you're going to tell a story.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to tell a story, then tell how you're solving a problem. Just keep it that simple. Marketing has the ability to really help a company.
They sure do.
It's crazy. And if they can help differentiate you and answer all those questions, then that's marketing-led growth. Instead of product-led growth, that's marketing-led growth.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's at. Like, show your value by being different, not by just following exactly what everyone else is doing. Are you kidding?
No.
And to me, like, you're setting yourself up for failure when you're putting yourself side by side with every other company. Like, big companies will do that, and they'll put themselves right next to the other guy, and they do 100 times more volume than the other guy, and you're looking like apples and apples. So to me, that's the big thing, is you don't want to do that. In this market, you have to differentiate. And if you're going to differentiate, you have to understand what the value is of your product and your company. And that's going to be per vertical market, per person that's going to help out. And don't try to boil the ocean. Just try to keep it to the core group of who you're helping out, and have everything just nailed down. And then, it's going to move product. So anyway, that's what we're focused on as well, to help these marketers out with. Hopefully they tap us and say, yeah, we need help with that.
Sure.
Unless they want to do it on their own, they can, but it's not easy.
No. It might look easy.
We make it look easy.